Good morning, everybody. Happy Tuesday, April 1st, which is April Fool's Day, which I'm not the biggest fan of April Fools. So to me, it's just the start of a new month. And in today's market stats, we're going to talk about what happened last week. But I am also going to dig into seeing what happened in last month in some of the different neighborhoods. And we are filming a video that is going to show you what has happened in all of Edmonton and area for the month of March for all properties, single family and condos. We are just talking about single families here today, as we usually do. And for all you looking to move to Edmonton, we are also filming a video that's going to talk about the differences between Edmonton and Calgary. Haven't done that in a while and just thought it would be good to update as things have changed and progressed since we've last filmed that video. Calgary's always been more expensive than Edmonton, but how much more are they expensive? What is the cost of living? What are the pros and cons of living in Calgary versus Edmonton? We're going to talk about that in those videos. So stay tuned for those ones coming on the channel. But today we're going to talk about what listings are currently available here in Edmonton. And the listing inventory, like the number of houses for sale, it's currently almost identical to last week. We're literally only 7 different. Now, that doesn't mean only 7 listings came on the market. It means that the new listings that came on the market also got taken away when we put deals under contract, pending or sold. So you have to take a look at that. We're not coming up a whole lot, which means things are getting taken right away because we are seeing more properties come on the market. Now, we did have this like third winter in Edmonton, which is quite normal. If you think it's spring and it's March, it's way too early to be spring because we always have these false starts to spring. And so we had a big snowfall dump on Thursday, Friday last week. And like I'm talking a foot of snow and lots of crazy roads, and it affected things. And people still did show houses. We still had showings on one of our listings, but we didn't see any offers. And that's the thing I'm looking at today is the market busy? Is it spring market? And spoiler alert, yes, it is in certain price points. We are seeing a softening of the higher price point market, but we are seeing a very strong market for the lower price point, which I'll dig into after we go through what's happened in this last week in single family homes. So if you take a look at the pending sales in Edmonton, we are just slightly lower than we were last week. Now, if you don't remember last week, we actually were quite a bit higher than the week before. So what I want to do is take a look at the solds and see if the solds jumped up in the last week. It should, based on what happened last week. And if you look, the solds actually didn't jump up a whole lot compared to the week before. So what happened is some of those deals are probably not 1 week deals, or probably 2 week deals. 2 week deals as in 2 weeks for conditions, and or some of the deals fell apart and they changed their mind and they're pending again or they're back on the market. So it's important to see that. Over the last few weeks, we've seen similar numbers in the over 200 sold in the last week. So it's very consistent. We are now in April, and I would suspect we're not going to get too much higher. For sure, I think 300 is a possibility even into May, because April, May gets even busier. As the weather starts to warm up, it will affect our market, and the weather is supposed to warm up back to like spring temperatures by the end of this week. And so I do suspect that this week we'll see more activity in showings, but I think we're going to see a lot more offers. Now, here's the other reason I think we're going to see more offers. When you write an offer in April, let's say you wrote an offer today and you had conditions for 2 weeks, that takes you into April 16th to remove conditions. 30 days from that point is now middle of May, which is now May long weekend, and typically a great time to move. Or maybe even 2 months is middle of June, right when school's ending. So a lot more people want possessions within this 30, 60-day period, and they're more prone to be looking for homes right now. If you see a house that's looking for 90-day possessions, probably because they haven't bought a house yet, likely, and they need to sell their house first before they go and look and buy one. So just because it says 90 days doesn't mean you have to have 90 days. You need to understand the dynamics between what the seller actually wants and what they've posted. If you really understand that, that's why a guidance of your realtor will help you kind of navigate all the different kind of scenarios that you might have when you're looking at homes, because there's not a one size fits all criteria. Now, if you take a look at last year, we are still slower than last year. And that's been the trend for this entire first quarter of the year. And so if you think about that, that means that it's busy, but Melody, doesn't it seem busier than last year? Well, it depends on who you ask. And also the interest rates are interesting. Like I've said this before over and over and over again. Hey, remember everyone's waiting for interest rates to drop? Well, they did, and the number of sales haven't increased more than last year. So that's interesting. So I just going to before we jump into the solds, what happened in March, I do see a question or comment. And again, if you're watching live and you have comments, feel free to put that in the comments and I'll make sure to answer any of your questions. So hi Melody, out of curiosity, as the market softens in Ontario, have you seen any reduction in out-of-province interest in Edmonton? I have not. Now, this is the thing, as market softens in Ontario, there's still going to be a drastic price differential from Ontario to Alberta. One, you guys have an insane land transfer tax that we don't have, and we have a little bit more now because of all these out-of-town buyers. But we're still seeing people move here for lifestyle, for cost of living. And when you say market soften, what does that even mean? Does that just mean that things aren't selling as fast? But it doesn't mean the price is going to drop drastically. Normal markets don't just go from, hey, it's been here for a long time and now we're down to here and we're like 100K lower. That doesn't happen in a year. So I haven't seen that happen. Oops, let me see what else. What did you say? If Ontario's a holdout in the province waiting to get a deal, or will cut losses and continue moving west. So I think there's a lot of reasons why people are moving to the west. Like I said earlier, it's not just about waiting for the house prices. See, the thing is, you can move out here for the lower house prices, but can you deal with our weather? Lots of people realize they don't want to live out here because of the weather. Maybe their family is still out in Ontario and they want to move back because they're not as close. There's a lot of different factors. And I think when you are looking to move here from another province, you really need to consider what are the reasons you're moving. If you're just moving because of house prices, I would caution you against that. You need to think about the entire reason of why you're moving. If this is going to give your family a better life because you're coming here, you can afford an actual house with a yard and you can take your kids into activities that you wouldn't have been able to do. You can put more food on the table. You can feed those hungry teenagers. There's more options for jobs here. Like if that's the case while you're moving, check. If you're literally just moving because the house is cheaper here than it is in Ontario, that totally defeats the purpose of real estate's number one rule, which is location, location, location. And you can never change the location. You might have the beautiful home over here, but if all your life is Ontario, you're just going to end up moving there. And here's a warning for all of you people moving from out of province wanting to buy a house thinking if I don't like it, I'll just flip it. Our market does not appreciate as quickly as you have seen in Ontario and BC. And so if you live here for a year and you don't like it and you decide, I'm just going to sell it, depending on what price point you purchased in, the equity value may not have increased enough for you to break even or for you to even, for you to break even. So be careful when you are moving here. Make sure you consider all of the factors of why you're moving. Don't just move because it's cheaper out here. I know there's a lot of marketing saying, hey, it's cheaper, so you should move here. You need to really look at more than just the house price. You need to look at the full scope of your family and why it would be a good thing to move. So let's take a look at the sold prices in the last week we just did. I want to look at the last month in some certain neighborhoods. So if you're watching live and you're curious about some certain areas, I'm going to focus on west and southwest communities because that's the area we focus in, and show you kind of what sold in the last 30 days to kind of let you kind of give you an insight. So one of the most popular areas that we always talk about on this channel is Secord. And Secord is where I used to live. And I want to show you the last 30 days for single family homes, what has happened. And you'll take a look here and see that we had from the lowest 390 all the way to 716 in Secord. So it's still a pretty good average price point. If you look at the average price, 578. Now that number, just to give you context, a few years ago was probably closer to 500. And so we have seen the market increase year over year, probably since 2020. I'd say the last 5 years, we've seen Secord numbers go from like just over 500 to now 578. So that's interesting. Now, what kind of home do you get? Now, 390 is going to be your townhouses with no condo fees, and it's a 1,294 square foot property built in 2012, and there's no garage. So it's just a parking pad. That home, like I said, would have sold for significantly less before, but now with the prices jumping. Now you can see that the lowest price was that, and then it jumps up to 516. So in the last 30 days, we saw no homes sell in the 400 range. So you can imagine if you're listing a home in Secord for the 400 range, you're likely going to sell very quickly because there's nothing, has been nothing selling in that price point. So one, you could have a price that's too high and it should actually be selling in the threes, or you just don't have a house listed in the 400s. So if you take a look at the homes between 5 to 6, you can see that the majority of the homes are that. There's only 2 homes here that sold. Oh, sorry, 3. You can't see the bottom screen here. There's 3 homes that sold over 600. One's a bungalow, which actually is rare because in Secord, there's like hardly any bungalows. So this is one of very few bungalows. It's probably why it took forever to sell. You see 219 days on market. And when you buy a home in the city, in the neighborhood, and that's not the common layout, it's going to be probably very challenging to sell your bungalow. Most of the homes in Secord are either 2 stories or this like new type of 4-level split, but mostly it's all 2 stories with front attached garages or laned garages. And you'll see here, starting at this price point at 539 and upwards, you're seeing front attached garages. Now there are going to be homes here that are 0 lot lines, and there's going to be some that are not 0 lot lines. And so likely the ones that are up in the higher price points are the ones that are not zeros. And then you've got zeros, are, by the way, are lots that have smaller land. So they have one side has 4 feet on the one side, and the other side is like on the property. Your house is on the property line. The other homes have 4 feet on each side, which is more traditional layout. But all the new areas are moving more and more into these 0 lot line homes. If you want to curious about the square footage, because I don't do square meters, you can see the square footage is anywhere from 15, 18, 16, 64. Now, as soon as you get to 2,000 square feet, you're seeing in the 580s. Now, this one, 1,900 square feet, probably has a finished basement. Let's see. Nope, it's unfinished basement. So that's interesting. But maybe this is open to above. Let's take a look. Because it seems, oh, it's a brand new house, so they don't even have pictures. That's the only picture it shows me. Because sometimes it's deceiving in terms of why did a 1,900 square foot house sell. You have to be careful when you purchase a home that's just under 2,000 because it can really hinder you on your sale, because people are looking for just that much more square footage, and there's a lot more flexibility when it comes to what you can get. Like if you're looking for a house with a den or an office on the main floor, you need to have more square footage. So 2,000 square feet usually isn't even enough. You probably need something where around 2,300 square feet at the minimum to get a sizable office on the main floor. And that's in a 2-story. So this is in Secord. Let's take a look at another neighborhood, which I'm going to feature in our videos. We're going to be talking about the best kind of neighborhoods to start off in, new and old. So this older neighborhood is called Lynwood. And I'll show you on the map here. This is a typical home. It's going to be a bungalow. And the average price point was $388 to $493. Now, also look at how quick everything moved. We only had 4 homes sell in the last 30 days in Lynwood. And there's not a lot for sale. Like there's nothing popping up. And these homes are bungalows. So they're just over 1,000 square feet. They're not that large. The biggest one here, 1,200, would probably be more sizable for a family of 2 kids. 3 kids, you can make it work. You could have a room in the basement, but you can see it's selling in the 493. And these 2 probably sold within, like this one for sure, sold like right away. And if you take a look at the list price, it was listed at $425 and sold at $485. Now, Melody, why did this one sell under list? Well, because it started at $499 and it was overpriced. So there is still a way to overprice a home. If you had listed this at, let's say, $450, there's nothing to say that it couldn't have been even higher than $493. At the end of the day, the buyer is going to give you what they think the home is worth. So let's take a look and see what these homes looked like. So this is the home that listed at $425 and sold for $485. Let's move this over so we can see the image. Okay. So you can see here, it's in this little cul-de-sac. It has this road. This looks like the Whitewood, actually. Oh, it's a park. So these are the older neighborhoods. You see how wide these houses are? This is why people split them and you can fit two of those skinnies. In a traditional new area, your lot sizes are like, because these are usually 50 by 150. I have to double check what this one specifically is, but typically if that's the size, you think 50 wide in these new neighborhoods, those zeros, they're ranging from 22 to 28. 28 is even bigger, so 26. So it's like half this size and then upwards. So, and you can see it's a nice house. And you can see that it's not renovated. This is what I was wondering, is if it was renovated, because it's sold at 485. And I mean, this would have been built in the 50s, and this kitchen's not from the 50s. The fridge looks like it's from the 80s. Like this reno looks like it was done in the 80s. So it's not original to the 50s, but it definitely is older. And I'm surprised it sold in the 480s, because that's just the demand, right? There's that many people that wanted this home. You're probably competing with people who want to try to flip, which I would very highly suggest not, when it's like so competitive right now. But you also probably are dealing with a lot of homeowners who are willing to kind of pay a little bit more money because they're planning to live in here for a while. And so they're willing to pay a little bit more because they know that over time, if you do renovate this property, the home value will go up, and time will also increase the value of this home. You can see the windows have all been done. I call this the typical like grandma house, where it looks like cosmetically it hasn't been updated since the 80s and 90s. Like this Berber is a dead giveaway for 90s. That it hasn't been updated, but I bet you, so with the windows being updated, I bet you the furnace and hot water tank have been recently updated too. So a lot of the bones are well taken care of, but then you need to have, see, that's a newer water tank. So, and the newer furnace, just like I mentioned. So I think it's really important so you understand when you're buying a home like this, you do want good bones. Now this garage looks like the shingles are done, and that's quite typical. People will maybe do the home itself, but then they won't do the shingles on the garage because it looks like the shingles on here seem fine, just from the photos, of course. And then this is the Lynwood Elementary School, which is a school that I actually went and grew up on. So this is a great access for schools, for kids going to school. You can send your kids off to school and see them walking there. So I can see why this home had such high demand. It is on a main road. Well, sorry, this is the back alley. So the back alley faces into there. So honestly, this is a great location, because your front is a street and then your back alley goes into there. Hey, Louie. Seems like it's a Louie kind of morning, because we had a Louie this morning ask questions, and then another one said they caught me live. So yeah, you caught me. So we're just talking about this Lynwood area and what kind of homes sell there, because there are bungalows, and these are 1950s homes. If you're looking for a newer home, you're not going to find newer homes typically in this area. And if you do, they're going to be those infill type of homes. So, if you have any other questions about neighborhoods, make sure you post them so I can feature them in there. But I wanted to show you the difference between Secord and Lynwood. And the Lynwood area, like the highest price sold for $493. But it doesn't mean that the homes wouldn't sell over 500. It just happens to be that's what was for sale and sold. Let me just show you what's actually for sale, like what's active right now. Let's see. Oh, there's 4 properties for sale right now. And they range from $439 up to $624.9. They've been on the market 5 days. So does that mean the price was too high? Potentially. Look at this. This isn't a renovated, look at the outside has been redone on the front. And then they've totally renovated it. So I showed you one that was paid $480 and it was not renovated at all. And you can see this is brand new. This looks like a flip. So gorgeous home. You can just move in. You don't have to worry about renovating and all that kind of stuff. Let me just see what size this was. It's 1,393 square feet, 624.9. And then this one's 1,132, and that's the 490 price point. Because they thought, hey, the other one sold for 480, and this one's more updated than the one for 4. But now I did see the address on here. It looks like it's on a main road. So that's always a danger. This is updated as well. I'd say the one we just looked at was a lot nicer finishing. Interesting pink. That's like really obtrusive. I bet you when you see it in person, it won't be as pink, but I mean, it's still pink. It's like blaring on the screen. Drop ceiling in a basement bathroom. See how this is always kind of interesting. I find that interesting. And then utility room. See, this is where the humidifier used to be, and you can see all the calcification. Pro tip, if you're removing it, you really need to clean this all off. It doesn't look well, especially when you're showing the house. You can see the calcification on the ground here. So humidifiers do typically stop working pretty quickly, and you're not seeing them in the newer homes anymore. They've taken them off, and this house had LVP put in it, so it doesn't even need the humidifier. A lot of times they put that in because of the hardwood floors. So anyways, today was hopefully a little bit insightful to show you what you'd get in the West neighborhoods, compared to like a new area versus an older area. There's pros and cons, right? Of the older areas have those wider lots, more space on their roads, more mature trees. You've got a school there, like you've got a lot more there. And then with the new neighborhoods, you're just a lot smushed in, but you've got brand new finishings, newer home. You don't have to worry about a 50s house, furnace, hot water tank, but could still be replaced, and shingles. I mean, at the end of the day, the newer homes all going to have that as well too. So we will not be here potentially live next week. Stay tuned. I'm not sure, but if I do pop on, I'll pop on. But we will have the video next week for sure for you to watch live. So make sure to subscribe so you don't miss the notification when the new video pops up. And we'll be talking about market stats this month on our recorded videos, and Edmonton versus Calgary. And there's another video I'm also filming today as well. So we'll see you guys next time. Thanks for tuning in.